welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So, we're still a new channel here, so I want to invite everyone out there to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Love to have you on our comic book collecting team, and when you hit subscribe, the bell pops up. Hit the bell, get all our latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter too. All the links are in the description below for all that. But if you noticed, and a regular watcher of this channel, you'll notice a little something different here because I got a new book and I kind of foregone the unbox video this time and tried something a little bit different. But, my new book is a Spawn #1, CGC 9.8 in the Newsstand version. And brought on my other Spawn #1 too in the direct version, no UPC code here. So, for Spawn and Image Comics, we'll get into Newsstand versus the direct versions. So pumped to have a Spawn #1 Newsstand. It's a book, I'll talk about the price too, because a book that I've been hunting for quite a while, but it just seems every time a decent one at a decent price comes up, the shipping to Canada is like 50 or 60 bucks from the US, so it's just never happened for me, but it was always a comic I wanted, and I want to have the raw too, so I brought my raw copy too and just got them all out. And it feels great to have Spawn #1 Newsstand CGC 9.8 white pages. So let's just take a look on the Census, because doing some research for this video, there's a couple things that even more excites me about this book now, because kind of having to do with a CGC 9.8 ratio when you sort of do some calculations with the Newsstand versions, and we'll get into that. But Spawn #1, CGC 9.8, there's 5,194 of them. So there's certainly a lot of them. That's in the Newsstand and the direct version. So that's one thing about this book, is it's not distinguished on the CGC Census. So, being so many of them, I don't necessarily recommend buying the direct version if you're kind of a serious collector looking for kind of an investment grade book. I 100% recommend going with the Newsstand, because in general, Newsstands are thought to be sort of a classic definition was that they're 18 to 20% of the print run for any given book. So usually Newsstands too, they have these UPC codes here rather than sometimes it's like a Spider-Man face or a 30th anniversary Spider-Man symbol. So they did that in the 90s for a while. But the Newsstand versions have these UPC codes here. But for Image Comics of this generation, apparently almost all of their books went right to the comic store, which is direct versions. Right to the comic shop, directly to the consumer, whereas Newsstands were on convenience store racks and in grocery stores and stuff like that. So apparently a lot of Image Comics went right to the comic book shops. So there's rumors that it's 1 to 2% of all printed Image Comics were Newsstand versions. So way, 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 way lower than Marvel. So what I did is, kind of wanted to be conservative with the estimates, I guess. So rather than 1 or 2%, some of these rose glass color scenarios, I think, I wanted to do, say, 5%. So say all of the 5,194 9.8s, 5% of them were Newsstand. That would mean that there are 260 CGC 9.8s. So even if we're not as, even more conservative, let's do another calculation, 10% of those 5,194s, that would be 519 CGC 9.8s. And those numbers are really, really low. For a really iconic first appearance, to have, a 1 of a 260 item or a 1 of 519 item, that's a really good kind of scenario for a collector. I know I always like to have collecting items that are 1 of 200, 1 of 100. Especially, usually first appearances, iconic first appearances, there's always so much. This is a good example in the direct version, there's 5,194. But yeah, because there aren't a lot of Spawn Newsstands out there, this is a really, really, really rare book. So, doing more kind of research for this video, I ended up taking the 10% number, so that was a 519 Newsstand CGC 9.8s, and dividing that by the entire blue label graded comic. So that's our CGC 9.8 ratio, but using this newsstand, the 519 amount newsstand number. So when you do that, it comes out with a 5.3% CGC 9.8 ratio, which is super, super low and rare. So yeah, I think that is one of the big reasons why I recommend this book. I think it remains a buy. At that, I call it like a special CGC 9.8 ratio, the special newsstand CGC 9.8 ratio of 5.3%. That's lower than Amazing Spider-Man 300 from 1988. So again, I honestly have, because of that, just sort of doing that research this morning, essentially, yeah, I really would recommend this book, you know, as an investment grade book. Now, yeah, and just there being so many Spawn number ones, it's extremely rare. So I want to talk about price, actually, because I ended up grabbing this book finally with decent shipping in Canada for $375. And yeah, first appearance of Spawn, first appearance of Al Simmons. And I've hunted this book. There's a lot of buy it nows out there for like $450 to $500 for this book. Hunting this book for a long time, and as I said, the shipping just never really worked out to Canada. So so glad to have it. And if you're in the U.S., you could probably be a little bit more picky on the price. Try and get it around $350. And they sort of dipped below $350 for the first time in a while, because I think last year there was that rumor that Jamie Foxx was going to be Spawn, and this had pretty much shot up to, like, I was seeing a lot of them go for $400 and over even. So they've since come down, you know, I think after that rumor just kind of heated off, or cooled off a bit. So yeah, I think right now is a good time to buy. So kind of got three quick reasons. So the first reason is it's an iconic first appearance. It's a cult following, cult artist too. Like, people are just cultish about McFarlane books. So I think there's always going to be that market out there where this will sell really easy, and there's like a pretty high volume. So you can kind of feel easy about that. Like, it's not going to be super hard to sell because it's like obscure or anything. And I think, you know, because I'm recommending, I think you'd be confident that the value will at least hold its value, but even go up, because yeah, getting into the second reason is there's no promo right now. There's no movie out, there's no rumor, which is the times when I like to buy, because you buy really cool things when there's like not much going on, and then usually something ends up happening where it'll, you know, put a little heat into the character and get more promotion going. And then that's what sort of happened last year with the movie rumors, and you never know what'll happen with a Spawn movie. I do really hope they would make it. That would be super cool. So the third reason is kind of the ambiguity of the newsstand rarity on the CGC Census. So, like, there's no Spawn newsstand on the CGC Census, right? So it's a little bit, you know, you're not too sure how many of them are out there, right? Like, we did those, you know, 5% of all of them, 10% of all of them calculations. So you kind of are stuck doing that and sort of guessing, essentially, because there's no real. But so I think that ambiguity, in a sense, could help this book in the long term, because everyone knows it's way more rare than the direct version. There's a ton of these out there. It's $100 for this, $110 or something. So $375 for this, which is a good price, I think. Some of them go for $4, some of them go for a little bit less. So obviously this is more rare, but yeah, because it's sort of hard to kind of drill down exactly how rare it is, I think that sort of puts more spotlight on the actual first appearance of Spawn, and then this is definitely the one to get if you're like a serious collector. So I think that's a good reason that, you know, over long term that could really, you know, I think this is a book that could appreciate in price for sure. You know, you're getting it right now, hopefully $350 if you live in the States. I think that would be a good price for me. I just jumped on a $375 one that had like, it was like $13 or $14 shipping to Canada, so I just grabbed it. And yeah, good shipping, came right. Just grabbed it earlier today too, so I haven't even really kind of looked at it, but yeah, it's no Newton rings on this one too, which is great. Not even one, to be honest, like 0 Newton rings. It's pretty much a perfect case. Yeah, maybe like a micro scratch right there, but that's alright. A little micro scratch. But as for my Spawn number 1, has a lot of Newton rings on it. So, yeah, really happy. This is a book, concluding up, it's a book I'd recommend. It's, for all those reasons we kind of went over. And, the fact that if you take the entire amount of CGC 9.8 and you take 10% of that number, which is 519, and then you divide it by the entire graded amount, and you get that 5.3%. That's lower than Amazing Spider-Man 300, which is like a $2,000 book, pretty much because that CGC 9.8 ratio is 6%. So to have this come in at 5.3% of all graded books, it's just relatively speaking, because there's a lot of Spawn number 1s out there. There's not a lot of Spawn number 1s in the newsstand in the CGC 9.8. And I think, just over time, more collectors, I think, will realize that. And certainly if there's ever a huge Spawn promo type thing, like a movie or a show or anything like that, this is going to be the one that the collectors are going to want. And, certainly like the signed versions are really cool too, if you're into that too. I think the signed newsstand number 1s would be a really cool book to have, but if this one was $375 to $400, I'm sure that one of those signed ones would be probably over $600, I would say. Yeah, maybe even over $700. You know what? I'd recommend to grab this book. Hopefully you got it at $350. See if I forgot anything. Really kind of cool to come over that special 9.8 ratio, which came in at lower than an Amazing Spider-Man 300, which really shows just how rare it is compared to how many Spawn number 1s are out there. And yeah, right now is the time to buy because there's not a lot of promo. Like if there was a Spawn movie right now, I'd probably, be like, oh, maybe, but I think right now if you can kind of, again, around that 350, maybe attempt to get one lower, I think you're making a good buy at that point. Certainly if you kind of got a longer term time horizon like me, hopefully holding on and enjoying these things for like 10 or 20 years. And so happy. I kind of foregone the unbox today, and because this is a brand new book and just tried something different and made it a little more informative, I think, going on the CGC Census and stuff. Because if you're a serious Spawn collector, Spawn number 1 in the newsstand is the one to get. And in the CGC 9.8 for $375 is what I bought mine for. I think that's a decent price, again, if you got kind of a long-term time horizon. All right, invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8 if you could. And still, again, at the early stage of the channel, and hit the bell, get all our latest notifications. That'd be great. Add me on Instagram too. I post a lot of the pictures either before or after the video of the new comics, and just some other pictures of random stuff too. So thanks a lot for watching though. Spawn number 1 in the newsstand, highly recommended certainly for this time too. Good time to buy, decent price, awesome first appearance, and just a cult following of a book, easy to sell, so many positives. And I love just having this, the pride of ownership's awesome. So I totally would recommend this book. All right, I'll thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support out there. I'll see you on the next one.